Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to my article review. I'd like to let you know that this is for education, information, and review purpose. This is not for taking the credit for the intellectual property in this case. That is the article. The full credit goes to the publisher, which in this case for this article is Digital Trends, and the author in this case is Monica J. White. With that said, let's get to the article. The headline reads, "The gamers have spoken. AMD obliterates Intel in CPU sales." So you can see here from the article, it says the AMD Ryzen 7 7800X3D installed on the motherboard. Let's go back to the article. AMD's 3D V-cache processors are some of the best CPUs, and they've been certainly certainly a hit among gamers. The sales figures speak for themselves. According to the latest numbers from Mindfactory, a German retailer, consumers are continuously picking AMD over Intel, and the gap is huge. What's more interesting is that AMD's latest Gen platform continues to dominate sales charts, despite the lack of upgrade path for the AM4 socket. Shared by Tech Epiphany on Twitter, these numbers spell great news for for AMD. Yeah, Intel. No, AMD. Of the top 10 processors sold last week on Mindfactory, 9 are AMD chips. The Core i5 13600KF is the only Intel CPU that makes it the top 10. It is coming at last as a shared number 10 spot with the 5 600 each sold just 150 units. Top of the chart looks more impressive with the Ryzen 7 7800X3D claiming the top spot with 550 units sold, followed by the Ryzen 7 5800X3D with 480 units. The fact that the 7800X3D rules the lineup is not quite as surprising as the fact that it just barely outpaces the last gen counterpart. And here you can see a video which you'll be able to watch in its entirety once I give you the link after I have uploaded this video. The 58X3D is fantastic CPU and even more current gen standards. It offers great performance in gaming. Its main downside is the fact that it belongs to a dead platform. AMD is shifting focus to the AM5 socket, meaning that users who build a PC with the 5800X3D are locking themselves to AM4 motherboards and the DDR4 RAM. There will be no way to upgrade the CPU in the future without swapping the mother and possibly other components too. Well, that's a negative for the 5800X3D. The sales figures show that many consumers aren't dissuaded by this, and a good CPU that's likely to keep up for a few years is sufficient for now. It doesn't hurt that the chip is affordable, priced at $320, with a cheaper motherboards and RAM than the 7800X3D. When it comes to obtaining accurate sales figures for PC hardware, most retailers and manufacturers tend to keep things quiet. As such, these numbers from Mindfactory are among the only reliable glimpse into such charts. Because of that, it's not necessarily a full picture of what gamers are choosing to buy. If you look at the latest Steam hardware survey, for example, you can see Intel still makes up about 2/3 of all CPUs sampled by Steam. Based on this data, though, it appears that a group of gamers who are looking to build a new PC right now are more likely to turn to the AMD than Intel. Largely thanks to the powerful 3D V-cache, but also due to the way the prices are set. The Ryzen 7 7800X3D outpaces Intel Core's i9 13900K in gaming scenarios, and it costs around $440, whereas the Intel chip sells for about $570. Of course, the lower core count on the AMD part makes it less suitable for productivity. But a computer built for gaming will benefit from a cheaper and faster AMD chip. So, pretty short article. I'd like to pose the question to you. What do you think of the AMD's new processor and the cheaper processor, the 5800 X3D? Is it worth the price savings? Long term, is it viable? What is your assessment? What do you think about it? I welcome your opinion in the comments section. Just please keep it respectful, no threatening or derogatory words. The purpose here is to have constructive dialogue so we can have an exchange of ideas that adds to the conversation in a positive way. Okay? I do appreciate your cooperation on that. Now let's go to the second article here. This is in some little notes here now. If I can scroll down the page. Before I talk about the article, I do want to reiterate my disclaimer that this article is for review, education, and information purpose. Those are the purposes of this review, of course. It's not to take the credit for the intellectual property of the article. The intellectual property of the article belongs to the publisher, in this case the Associated Press, and the author Hui Jong-woo of the Associated Press. Okay? My purpose is just to educate and share news to the masses of people who want to be informed about what's happening in the world. Okay? Now, with that said, I'd like to continue with the article. Headline reads: Japanese political leader Taro Aso calls for peace in the Taiwan Strait as Tokyo expands defense. Okay. You can see here a picture of him. Taro Aso, the vice president of Japan's ruling Liberal Democratic Party, speaks at a forum in Taipei Tuesday, August 8, 2023, which is technically today. The senior Japanese politician and advocated Tuesday for increasing the country's deterrence ability to ensure peace in the region, and called for the message to be clearly conveyed globally, particularly in China. And that's courtesy of Kyoto News via AP, which is the Associated Press. As you can see in the article, that's what it is. Well, let's continue with the article. Coming out of Taipei, Taiwan, by way of the Associated Press. The senior Japanese politician advocated Tuesday for increasing his country's deterrence ability to ensure peace in the region and called for a message to be clearly conveyed globally, particularly in China. The most important thing for us now is that there should be no war in the region, including the Taiwan Strait, the vice president of Japan's ruling Democratic Party. Taro Aso said Tuesday in Taipei at the Petalangan Forum hosted in Taiwan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Well, Japan, as a very close neighbor to Taiwan, I think we should be first to express our attitude and also to make that message clear to the international community, including China. He said, Taiwan and China split in 1949 after Civil War. The island has never been part of the People's Republic of China, but the mainland's ruling Communist Party says it's obligated to unite with China by force if necessary. And here you can see the video, which you can watch in its entirety once I upload this video, of which I will give you the link to the video itself. Now, in December, Japan announced a historical break from the pacifist defense policy by saying it would adapt offensive capabilities and purchase cruise missiles. As the former Prime Minister of Japan said, peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait was the consensus of the international community. A year ago, China fired 5 ballistic missiles into waters near Japanese southern islands as part of the military exercises it held in retaliation to 2 former U.S. House of Representative Speakers Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. Japan has become more explicitly vocal about Taiwan, its former colony, as tensions in the Taiwan Strait have risen. Japan's westernmost inhabited island, Yonaguni, is only 110 kilometers away from Taiwan. While visiting Washington, D.C. in January, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida issued a statement with President Joe Biden on the importance of bilateral alliance and how Japan will work with the U.S. to strengthen its deterrence. The two also affirmed the importance of peace in the Taiwan Straits. I will post the question to you as I normally do with all of my articles. What do you think of this article? What is your opinion on the matter regarding Japanese political leader Taro Aso calls for peace in the Taiwan Strait as Tokyo expands defense? What do you think of it? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? What are the constructive things you have to add to the dialogue? The key word is constructive. As so ground rules do not allow anybody to use derogatory language or threatening language. This the conversation in the comments section is for constructive dialogue. Keyword is constructive. Now, the idea is to add positively to the conversation. Okay, that's the purpose. Let's go on to our third article here. Before I go on to read this article, I do want to reiterate the purpose of the article is for information, review, and education purpose. Those are the purposes of reviewing this article. It is not to take the credit for the intellectual property, which is in this case the article. The full credit of the intellectual property goes to the publisher, in which case is Reuters, and the author, which is Christian Pushik. Correctly. Okay. Now, with that said, let's continue with the article. Headline reads, India bars makers of military drones from using Chinese parts. And here you can see a picture of what we're talking about. The MQ-9 Reaper drone taxis at Kandahar airfield in Afghanistan. Now, if we understand our geography correctly, so we have India next to Pakistan. Pakistan is neighbors with Afghanistan. So Afghanistan would be on the west, Pakistan is to the east. So they are not too far away from each other. This is the fact of the matter. From the picture, this is an MQ-9 Reaper drone. And here, okay, now. And it says copyright Thomson Reuters, okay? So that way they get proper credit for the picture. Coming out of New Delhi by way of Reuters. In India in recent months, it has barred domestic manufacture of military drones from using components made in China over concerns about security vulnerabilities, according to 4 defense and industry officials and documents reviewed by Reuters. The measure comes amid tensions between the nuclear-armed neighbors as New Delhi pursues military modernization and envisions greater use of unmanned quadcopters, long-endurance systems, and other autonomous platforms. But as the nascent Indian industry looks to meet the military needs, the defense and industry figures said India's security leaders were worried the intelligence gathering could be compromised by Chinese-made parts in drones, communication functions, cameras, radio transmission, and operating software. Now, 3 of these people and some of the 6 other government and industry figures interviewed by Reuters spoke on the condition that anonymity, said that they were not authorized to talk to the media or because of topic sensitivity. India's defense ministry did not respond to Reuters' questions. India's approach, reported by Reuters for the first time, complements phased import restrictions on surveillance drones since 2020 and being implemented through military tenders, documents show. At 2 meetings in February and March to discuss drone tenders, Indian military officials told potential bidders that equipment or subcomponents from, quote, countries sharing land borders with India will not be acceptable for security reasons, unquote. According to minutes reviewed by Reuters, the minutes did not identify the military officials, which is probably quite prudent because then information couldn't leak out. Now, a senior defense official told Reuters the reference to neighboring countries was a euphemism for China, adding that Indian industry has become dependent on the world's second largest economy despite concerns about cyber attacks. Beijing had denied involvement in cyber attacks. Of course they're going to deny it. Of course. China's Commerce Ministry, which last week announced export controls on some drones and drone-related equipment, did not respond to questions about India's measures. The U.S. Congress in 2009 banned the Pentagon from buying or using drones and components made in China. Now, the manufacturing Prime Minister Narendra Modi had sought to build India's drone capability to thwart perceived threats, including from China, whose forces have clashed with Indian soldiers along the disputed border in recent years. And here you can see the full short video, which you'll be able to see once you get the link, which of course will be available once I upload this video, as in this recording. India set aside 1.6 trillion rupees, which is $19.77 billion, for military modernization in 2023 to 2024, of which 75% is reserved for domestic industry. But the ban on Chinese cars has raised the cost of making military drones locally by forcing manufacturers to source components elsewhere, and government and industry experts said. Samir Joshi, a founder of Bangalore-based New Space Research and Technologies, a supplier of small drones for India's military, said 70% of goods in the supply chain were made in China. Well, if I talk to, let's say, the Polish guy, he still has his components, which are coming via China, he said. Switching to a non-Chinese pipeline pushed up costs dramatically, Joshi said, adding that some manufacturers are still importing materials from China, but would white label it and kind of keep the cost within the frame. Technology gaps. India relies on foreign manufacturers for both parts and entire systems and lacks the know-how to make certain types of drones. The government-funded program to produce indigenous medium-altitude, long-endurance unmanned system is delayed by at least half a decade, said Wai Dalip, director of the state-run Aeronautical Development Establishment, or ADE. A platform called TAPIS has met most requirements but needs further work to fulfill the military's goal of a drone that can reach an operation altitude of 30,000 feet and remain airborne for 24 hours till they're set. Primarily, we're constrained by the engines, he said, with neither of those built domestically nor international models available to India up to the job. Apart from TAPIS, which is expected to begin military trials this month, ADE is working on a stealth unmanned platform and a high-altitude long-endurance platform. Both are years away. To fill the gaps, India announced in June that it would buy 31 MQ-9 drones from the U.S. for over $3 billion. Wow, expensive. R.K. Hiram, the drone expert for the government's Manohar Parrikar Institute for Defense Studies and an analyst, said, there has been coherent national strategy to fill the technology gaps and deliver commercially viable products. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman pledged on Friday, that 1/4 of the year's 232.6 billion rupees, which is $2.83 billion budget, defense research and development would be for private industry. Phil Narang said there was little investment in research and development by India's private sector companies. Joshi said venture capitalists skewed military projects because of the long lead dimes and the risk that orders may not eventuate. A senior defense official said India would need to accept higher costs to reach domestic manufacturing. He said, if today I buy equipment from China, but I say I want to make it in India, that cost will go up 50%. He said, we as a nation need to be ready to help the ecosystem build here. And it says $1 equals 82.2775 Indian rupees. And it says the story has been corrected to say 1.6 trillion rupees, not 1.6 billion rupees. Reporting by Christian Kaushik. This reporting by Joe Cash in Beijing. And editing by David Rosha and YP Rich. Correctly. Now, this is my third article. I will post the question to you also. Besides the other two articles, also in this third article, I will pose the question. What do you think of India bars makers of military drones from using Chinese parts? Is that in India's best interest? What are the implications? What do you think of it? And tell me why. Keep in mind as some ground rules. You're welcome to give your opinion in the comments section. Just make sure it's not threatening or derogatory. Our purpose is to have a constructive dialogue in which that we can add to the conversation and improve our understanding of what's happening. Okay? This is to educate and make people informed about the news and make the review accessible to anybody on the internet who can access, of course, YouTube or Rumble, which is where I'm going to upload it to. Okay? So I'd like to end it here. First of all, I'd like to thank you for watching this news review. I do appreciate it, certainly, definitely. The more people that watch it, the better it is. The more I can serve people, the more it helps people. So I do appreciate that. Second of all, if you haven't, I'd like to say that if you haven't, I'd like to ask you to please click like on the video. That way it will push through the algorithm and more people will be able to see the video. And if you haven't already, please click subscribe so that more people would be able to, and people would be able to see all the videos, as I have a variety of types of videos that I publish. And also, if you haven't already, please click the bell button. That way you'll be notified of all my future videos. Keep in mind on this channel, I have a variety of things from news, course reviews, different types of course reviews. Okay. Actually, I was doing gaming, and also chess as well. Actually, not on this channel, but on my other channel. So I'm doing a variety of things on a couple of my channels. So anyway, so basically, it's course review, it's news, gaming, and those things. So again, I would like to thank you for watching the video. I wish that you have a great day. Take care.